Hey, what's up, everyone? Vic here with EarthGrid, and today we're actually going to talk about EarthGrid and what is EarthGrid and why is EarthGrid tied into SociSnap Magic and what is SociSnap Magic about your digital business? So, what I'd like to do is open up the conversation for about 15 minutes about digital influence and what it is, what it means to you, and see if you have any questions that I could answer about digital influence. And some more people just joined us. Patricia just joined us. Hello, Patricia.
Hey, good afternoon. Hey, everyone. So, given your extensive background in digital marketing and software development, how do you envision the role of AI evolving in the marketing landscape over the next 5 years?
Well, I would say it depends on how you define AI, and
Hmm.
you've probably heard me talk about CAHI, computer-assisted human intelligence. I'm not a fan of AI. I am a fan of computer-assisted human intelligence. And let me explain the distinction. AI attempts to replace human activities with robotics and with automation. Computer-assisted human intelligence helps to evolve the human using the technology that's been labeled or mislabeled as AI, such as ChatGPT or SociSnap Magic. These are not AI technologies. They are libraries of content that you have access to with prompts. And someone had the idea to write a chat interface to a gigantic computer network. It's literally like walking up to someone at the British Museum and saying, "Hey, do you have a book? Could you show me a book? What is that?" And then that person says, "Well, I have a line of people here that already know which book they want, and I can help direct them into the right section." And so I think my answer to your question is I feel like two things will happen, and it's inevitable, and it's sad because those numbers that we see, um, I call it the 2% rule, the 1.8% rule. Uh, we find that, let's say we give courses, homework, um, teachings, ebooks, PDFs, how-to guides. We send it out to 100 people, two of them will do it. And the danger I see with AI is that number is going to become 10% of that. Because people will all of a sudden have this mindset, oh, yeah, I'll just ask Siri or I will just ask my AI and my AI will do it for me. I was listening to an interview with, I'm going to probably start a series of this guy. I'm reading his books, Alan Moore. Let's see if I can bring that up. Alan Moore. Alan Moore.
Hmm.
Um,
What's
Alan
the name?
Moore wrote V for Vendetta. Okay. He also wrote the Watchmen series of comics, and those were made into movies. And V for Vendetta was made into a movie. And I was listening to an interview with him where he was talking about the ideas that led to the conception of these stories, which have had a lasting impact. And I think everyone here ought to watch V for Vendetta again because we're now living in that. It's a, you know, he predicted, I think the book came out in 1983, if I remember the interview yesterday correctly. And I'm finding that what's happening is this AI technology, which I'm going to give you a demonstration of here, is being misused. And it's being misused because it, at its core, they're trying to replace human activities rather than having what we recommend, having the human come up with really cool stuff like these backgrounds. Okay. That's my brain. Okay. If you want to see what's inside my programmer's brain, this is an attempt to visualize it. Now, I have not taken any psychedelic mushrooms in the last maybe 25, 30 years. Okay. And I don't do drugs. So all of this is an attempt to reactivate the times when I did do that, when I did go to Grateful Dead shows, when I did, drop those substances, when I did see this stuff. And one of the things I'm actually now working on a study. As soon as I am ready to announce it, I will. Um, but we are looking at having a case study where SociSnap will actually be visualizing things for people who are in, shall we say, controlled studies with psychoactive substances. And uh, they have a hard time describing what they saw in their mind's eye. And so we had thought, wow, what a great idea to use SociSnap with trained operators to be able to create these images that allow them to explain what's going on. I didn't want to digress too much, but I feel like when we're working with SociSnap, or at least when I'm working with SociSnap, I'm not sure how you are, but when I'm working with SociSnap, I drop into a zone, I drop into an altered state, and I feel like I'm actually getting smarter. And
Mm.
that's what I want to share with you. That's what I want to give you, that experience of that. Because what you're going to get from other AIs is you feel like you're ignorant and you're getting dumber. And I don't want that to happen. Now, there is an effect called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which I probably should play a video for you about that, because there's so much I want to cover here in the answer to that question. I feel like the danger of humanity and the threat that Elon and others are talking about with AI is that humans will become obsolete. Terminator, the movie, predicted it. Um, as soon as you have AI be in charge of your missiles, it can decide to fire them. Um, but at the same time, we do need this technology. Remember the Olympics where they had the drones in the sky and they made this beautiful artwork. So I think as long as humans are in charge, but now you become, okay, well, which humans should be in charge? What are the values of the humans that should be in charge? Is a super intelligence actually better off at ensuring a directive of human? And these are some of the questions that are being asked right now. And that's being asked in film. It's being asked um, in books. It's being asked in computer games. What's very interesting is when you find computers facilitating human community, we do so in chat. And I'm speaking from experience because when I ran chat rooms like with Deepak Chopra, I think I had him 7 times. I had Jack Canfield, at least, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, at least a dozen times on my show.
Mm.
And we had more than 2,000 people in the chat room every single time. And we had the transcript. It was all text. But imagine, like, I'm just going to have you imagine this. We had, like, here we have a handful of people, and we have video, and we have audio. Okay. Back then, we only had text. You had to imagine things, right? But there were 2,000 people that were connected simultaneously at that one moment. And I had 10 moderators, assistants, if you want to call them, and they were asking these type of questions, and Deepak was answering those questions. And it was fascinating because Deepak was on the phone with me, and I had a typist that was 160 words per minute, so she could really type really fast. And I would type in my question as myself. And then I said, okay, well, let me open up the questions to the audience, and the audience would ask questions. And when we asked questions, like, you would have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions coming in through. It's not like the social media engagement where it's just very small. I mean, social media is small. It's you have we had more engagement and more interaction in 1994 than all social media put together right now. Okay. And I know you can't imagine this because you weren't there unless you were there. If you were there, then you knew exactly what I'm talking about. But during that 1 hour time frame, we had thousands of people simultaneously thinking of something. They couldn't speak. All they could do was type. And I had this experience where I would think of a question that I want to ask Deepak based on how the conversational narrative was going. And within a few seconds, I would see someone from the audience ask that exact question. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. How did you do that? And I noticed it only happened when we had more than 2,000 people. Now, you could say, sure, that's a coincidence. It's anecdotal. But yes, we did it over and over and over again. I saw it happening over and over and over again. So there is a collective mind. And I think that is what we're seeing here with AI. We have this huge opportunity to have this technology enable the collective mind, enable human beings to start thinking, okay, here's what we have in common. Let's go ahead and see if we can pop the question, so to speak. And what's fascinating is how the question got to me was through one of the 10 moderators that was copying and pasting the skew of questions that were coming through. So I had 10 people that were close to me, affinity, if you will, sometimes 6, sometimes 10. And there were hundreds of questions being asked at the same time. People, and of course, there's lots of noise. People are saying, "Oh yeah, what is this? Oh yeah, he's got," all the commentary was kind of dumb. So what we also did is we had a comments group. Let me open up the chat because I just realized that by default, chat you guys can't chat, and I want to make this as engaging as possible. And I'm actually going to open the chat to everyone because normally we only say only moderators can see that. But I want to open the chat to everyone so you have the feeling of what it was like being in an unmoderated environment. And so that anything you see, everyone will see it, good, bad, or indifferent. And so the way we had these things working, picture this: 2,000 people come in, 2,000 people can't talk, 2,000 people are chatting in real time. And then I have these moderators that are separating the noise and grabbing the good questions and copying them and pasting them into another private chat that only us moderators had. And we now had the ability to screen all these questions. And so that's how the questions bubbled up to me. But it was very fascinating because I was monitoring both of them as I was in the interview. And I saw the question, it was delayed by a half a second. And I will have to write an article on this because I've seen this somewhere. Some physics journal or something like that said that because of the speed of light or the speed of thought, and if you measure it, divide it by the speed of light around the Earth or something like that, that you actually should be able to predict the future a half a second in the future. And I have to go look that up. But I did read that in one of these quantum physics scientific papers that crossed my desk from time to time. And I started thinking, well, wow, is that really interesting? Do we, and think about that in terms of traffic accidents, right? If you can see into the future, a half a second into the future, what kind of a mindset would you need to have? How could you tell whether you were listening to the collective consciousness or whether you were really just tapping into your own mind, recycling itself? And I think here's a great analogy. There's a setting in your car where you recycle the air from your own car back in. Have you seen that? There's a setting. You can actually click the little button. It'll take the air. So like, for example, if there's a forest fire, and we have them here in California, and you still want cool temperature, you can click that button and it will cool off the air, filter it out. You're still breathing, but you're going to have an increase of carbon dioxide in the air. But you can actually seal the vehicle so that you're just recycling the air inside the vehicle. And then you can turn that button off and it will pull air from the outside in. And what I think AI is right now is like recycling the air inside of a car over and over and over and over and over again. And ChatGPT is probably the worst culprit of that because what it's doing is it's attempting to learn. I mean, hopefully it's not, but I think it is. They're applying machine learning to chat, which is what are people saying? And then they're applying machine learning to the responses, which are random and not always fact checked. And I think we're we're essentially creating a fantasy reality that we now have this world where human beings can't tell reality from fantasy.